In this video, I'll be talking about views. We already have a good understanding of what a model view controller design pattern is. We have had the bakery exercise to talk about the different roles that are played by the model, the view, and the controller. Just to give an understanding, quick recap. Model is in charge of data. View is in charge of user interface and presentation. And the controller is the liaison between the model, view, and the user. So let's look at view today. I just opened an application, a sample application. I have not made any coding changes in this application. As soon as I say MVC application, it creates the default three methods, action methods for me and a home controller. So what I'm doing right now is just opening up the home controller to take a look at how the view and the controller are connected. MVC has a certain convention that it follows. So that is going to drive basically how the controller knows what view to call. For example, this is the home controller, and here is a method called index, and there is a call made to a function called as view here. So what does that mean? It means that when this call is made, the MVC is going to look for a folder called views under the name of the controller. So views, under that the subfolder should be matching the name of the controller from where the call is being invoked. In this case, it's home. And it is going to look for the name of the view to match the action method from where the call is being invoked. In this case, that will be index. So a home controller index method will have a view under a subfolder called home with the name index. So that is how the convention works. Of course, the convention can be changed and overridden, but in this case, that is the default behavior that's going to happen. Same with the about and the contact also. So if you open the view itself, the view is a CS HTML file. The only purpose of the view is to present the user input to the user. That's it. To present and format and manipulate the presentation of the data. And the view itself cannot be rendered directly without the controller. It is not like a HTML page that we render. You cannot actually open index.cshtml in a browser and expect that to work, because there is some code that needs to be read inside, interpreted by the controller. So controller is in charge of rendering the view to the browser. If we look inside this specific view, we can see 90% of it is just HTML. This is something that you can render to a browser and that should work. But then there is some code here that starts with an @ symbol. This is called as the Razor engine, the Razor syntax code. This is interpreted by the Razor engine and helps us to extend basic HTML capabilities that we have in our view and then extend them so that we can actually write code that looks like either C# syntax or VB, Visual Basic Syntax. For our lesson, we'll be only using the C# syntax. So in this specific example, there is something called as a view bag, and the title of the view bag is being set here. Let's take a little closer look at the controller. At least the index method does not have much. It's not sending any data to the view. It's just directly invoking the view. But if you look at about and contact, the same view bag is being accessed here in the controller, and the message is being set to some custom message. So the view bag is a common like data storage that is shared between the controller and the view. So the view bag.message is being set here. Let's look at the view. And you can see on top of that, the title is being set, and then there is a call to set viewback.title, to present viewback.title and viewback.message. Just pay attention that even though we have not set the message in the view, because the data is being set in the controller, that data is accessible to the view. So we talked about convention, and we talked about how data is being passed between the controller and the view. Let's also take a look at, this is the, let's look at the presentation itself. This is the view that's accessible to me at this point with the basic MVC application. I have an about, okay, I have to run the application. Let me run it. This is the basic view that's available to me. If you see that there are some commonality between the 3 pages, like the footer is common. The footer says 2018 ASP.NET MVC application. Same here and same here. So anytime we have common code that we want to share, that goes under this shared folder, and the default file where shared code is shared data or views, the common information in the different views are always shared. They will go under the layout.cshtml. Like for example, our footer. If we scroll down, we can see that there is code for the footer here. Even though the individual files did not actually code it, the individual views did not actually code for it, it is still available to us because it is in this shared file. So the question then is, okay, there is a shared file, but how does the application know to use that shared file when rendering all these little views? So that is where we have to look at another file under views, the main folder, called as view start. The view start specifies the commonality, the common file that has to be loaded. Like it sets that the layout for all these files is the layout.cshtml. Anytime if there is code to be executed at the start of a view, that can be placed in the view start.cshtml. So view start lists layout.cshtml as the common file. Layout has the header and the footer and common JavaScript that's being used across all of the views. And our view itself has the actual data pertaining to that view. One more thing I want to show you is, if you look at the layout.cshtml, you can see the question is, okay, now that we have the layout.cshtml, we have the header and the footer. How do we insert the actual view in here? That magic happens here. When we use the @renderBody, that is where the actual view that's being invoked is called. So this will be replaced. This code here is substituted with the name of the view. This is where we will insert the index.cshtml code. That's all done by the controller. That's all done by the MVC engine. It happens automatically, but this is where the magic happens with the render body. So that's it for this particular video. We will talk about how to override convention in the next video.